Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. Today we're going to take a look at how to create a persistent cache that will work with a website that we create with Manifold Server. When we create websites with Manifold Server, we often use as layers data sources that are served from external web servers. For example, a base layer from OpenStreetMap or from Google or Bing, where the tiles for that layer are coming in from the servers that are operated by OSM, Bing, or Google. And those servers can be slow, or it can cost us money if we're using our API key, bring stuff in from Bing or Google for every time we pull those tiles in. So if we have lots of people that are hitting our website and that are basically looking at the same views, we don't want to have those tiles repeatedly pulled, the same tiles repeatedly pulled in for each and every one of those users. What we'd like to do is we'd like to have a cache where if any one user pulls in tiles for a particular view at a particular zoom level, so that those tiles get reused for any other users that might want to look at the same view. So let's take a look at how web servers work first. I'm going to create new data source, and I'm going to create an OpenStreetMap data source. I'm going to call it OSM base, and we'll use the built-in OpenStreetMap base image server. And if I click here, it says save cache between sessions. That'll actually save the cache. Let's create that data source, and if I pop it open and I open up the image and zoom into here in France, let's see what that does. You can see that there's a new thing called a folder called a cache folder within the system data folder. And this table right there, the image server cache OpenStreetBase, saves the tiles that are coming in. So every time we change the view, those tiles will get stored for that different view as they come in from OpenStreetMaps. Now the problem with this, in terms of using this as a website, if we were to create a web server project like this, that cache would have to be the table will have to be continuously altered within the projects being served by server. And manifold projects that are used in server are read-only. So that's not going to work. We have to find a different way to store the cache. And the traditional way of doing that is to store it in an external database. Now you can put it in Postgres or something like that, but that can be difficult to set up. So I'm going to show you a way of setting that up here, which is really simple and a lot easier to use. So I'm going to click this button here, click new project, save changes now. So we're going to start from scratch again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a blank SQLite file, because SQLite is in fact a database, and in fact it's a multi-user read-write database. So I'm going to start by creating a table. The easiest way to create a blank SQLite project is to simply export a table into the project that you want to name. So I just created a blank table. I'm going to right-click on that, choose Export, and here I'll create a file that's called OSM. Let's put an underscore there, cache. Click Export, and there, if I open up Windows Explorer to take a look at what I've done here in that videos folder that I was using, I've created an OSM cache SQLite database file. You can see it's very small. It's only 8 kilobytes in size. Let's drag and drop that into our main project, and drag shift drop it will link it into the project. Okay, let's move that out of the way again, and here in the main project you can see that if I open up the data source, there's nothing there but the table that we exported, which is a blank table. I'm going to click down here at this table and delete it, because I don't need it in that blank table anymore. Now what I want to do is I want to create the OSM based data source, but inside this SQLite project. Believe it or not, you can do that in Manifold. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the table there to make sure I've moved the focus into that project. So with the focus on that focus on that data source, excuse me, anything that I create in that is now going to be created in that data source. So now I can choose File, Create, New Data Source, and once again, let's call this OSM Base, and we're going to use the OSM Base image server, and I'm going to click Save Cache Data Between Sessions. This time when I click Create Data Source, it's now created, as you can see, within the OSM Cache SQLite project. And if I open that, you can see there's that OpenStreetMap base image, and if I can open the virtual folder, system data folder, which is inside the SQLite database, you can see it also has a cache that's in there. And now whenever I open this guy up, we're going to have tiles created. I'm going to open that up using a map, which I right-click down here in the .map portion of the project, and I'm going to create a map. And that's not going to use any layer. We're just going to create map. Click that open, and I'm going to drag and drop this OpenStreetMap base image into that map. So there I basically set it up, and as you can see, the moment I drag that in, within the cache subfolder, there opened up that cache table, which is inside the SQLite project. Excuse me, inside the SQLite file. So now whenever I pan and zoom here, for example, pan and zoom into Paris, if you look here in the in Windows Explorer, you can see the OSM Cache SQLite project is growing. And it's growing because it's storing tiles that are coming in. Let's zoom all the way into Paris here. And let's zoom into the Louvre. Right there, there's the Pyramid du Louvre. And let's save the current location. I'll call that Louvre. I know my French accent is terrible, but that's the way it is. And everybody I know in France knows it's terrible, and they tolerate it anyway. All right, so let's put in a few more other locations here, and let's see. Let's go to Chartres, which is probably the coolest. It's right out here. There's Chartres, and let's go to the wonderful old ancient cathedral, probably the best cathedral in the planet in terms of having a French Gothic. In terms, no, it's Saint. Come on, guy. Where am I here? Here's Chartres Cathedral. And if you know Chartres, you know this is just an absolutely delightful square with the Le Serpent, everybody's favorite cafe. And so let's save that as a location as well. Let's call it save current location. Okay, let's call that Chartres. And I'm just going to do a couple more locations here. And I want to do Amiens, which is everybody's favorite tall cathedral. And let's see. There it is. It's also called the Cathedral Notre Dame, the Cathedral of Our Lady in Amiens. So let's put it right about there, and let's also save that location, save current location. All right, and that's about enough, I think, for now. So we'll just do 3 locations like that. And what I want to do is I want to save this project, and I want to save this project to File, Save As. Let's see, what should I call it? Let's call it a tunnel cache example. There. Okay, and so this is the project that we're going to end up serving. And I'm now going to generate a website. I'll do that off screen in a Manifold Server, since this isn't about how to generate a website in Manifold Server, but it's the sort of thing that does go quickly. So let's. I have to close this. Let's save it, and then close that to open up a new project. And now what I'll do is I'm going to turn that on, and in a different view, which I'm working with off screen, I'm using Manifold Server in my Manage a Service dialog. I'm picking the data, which is that cache, which is that tunnel cache example map, and the address is I'm going to use the primary virtual address, because it's all. I'll do this all localhost post 80 and get my options all set. Okay, that's about right. So that looks. Let's start that running. And if all the stars align, this actually should generate a working website. So I'm going to pull in Windows Explorer here, and there it is. So we've actually created the website, and I can actually go to different locations. For example, we can go to the Louvre, and there's the Louvre, and I can go to Chartres. There's Chartres, and I can go to Amiens, and there's Amiens. And what's cool about all this is, as we're working through the website here, the cache is increasing in size. The number of tiles that are going into the cache are increasing in size. So as we look at these different views, for example, as we zoom out to Amiens, that'll increase it in size a bit. If we look at this part of France, that'll increase it in size a bit as well. Let's go to the Louvre, and let's pick different places in Paris that we can take a look at. For example, the Arc de Triomphe, which is right there. Let's zoom it in. And as you can see, as we're moving around, that cache is going to keep going in SQLite. What we've just done is we've set up a project where the persistent cache for the project, no matter how many people are visiting this from, no matter how many websites that they go to, they're all going to be hitting that same cache. So if you're using a really large area, for example, if you're looking at the entire world, where you could end up with a pretty darn large cache file. I mean, there could be hundreds of gigabytes of cache file. But the way you typically use projects like this is that you'd set up the cache for a project where people are going to be browsing parcels in a particular community. So, for example, if you have, let's say you're doing the parcels for a Chartres, a cadastral map for Chartres, and people are browsing that around, and they're going to be looking at different sites within there. Most people are going to be starting by going to the, to specific location, and each time they go to that location, notice that those locations are now hitting absolutely instantly. Why? Because they're all coming out of cache. And if you just do a couple of clicks, say, let's go to the location here to the Louvre, and we can click out a few times, and then we can click in a few times. You can see that when we repeat those moves, they're now instantaneous. We're now waiting. We don't have to wait for OSM at all, because all those tiles are coming out of cache. And the more that people visit your website, the faster it'll get, because the larger the cache will get, and the more tiles that will be in cache that people will hit over and over again. So that's basically it. This is a duplicate of the cache and server projects topic that's in the user manual. There's a lot of good information in the user manual with a lot of step-by-step examples. So if you want to follow this and repeat this, step by step, go to the user manual and under the Manifold Server heading, look at the cache and server projects topic, and that'll cover it for you as well. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video where we've learned how to use cache. Notice that we did all this using the SQLite database. We just created a file. We didn't have to stand up Postgres or anything like that, so it's really easy to use. And this is just a wonderful technique for caching, basically simple websites, that aren't going to have more than 100 or 300K users per day, something like that. So it's just a great system. It's a wonderful way to work, and it's nice that Manifold can make this all this easy. Again, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed it, tell your friends, and goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.